What would your business look like if you were twice as productive without working more? And what would your business look like if you had your high value tasks on autopilot? And what would your business look like if you could afford to take off 1 week per month? It'd be pretty amazing, wouldn't it? Now, please allow me to ask another question. What would your personal life look like if you were twice as productive without working more, had your high value tasks on autopilot, and could afford to take off 1 week per month? It'd be pretty freaking amazing, wouldn't it? Well, the results I speak of have become a reality for my clients. Today, we're talking about the 3 biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make that keep them feeling burnt out. And the solution to this problem is something I call powerful productivity practices. Specifically, we're talking about implementing practices and habits that have you being as effective and productive that you can be by doing a simple sequence of steps that has you smoothly running your profitable business and having more free will to do what you love to do the most. Hi, I am Dan Lefave, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. I imagine that you're super busy, yet you did whatever it took to not only register, but to show up. And in my opinion, there's 2 critical factors necessary for success in any entrepreneurial venture: investing time, energy, and money in ongoing learning, which is what you're doing here right now today, showing up again and again and again, which I call follow through. So you are a person that follows through. Now, we had lots of people who registered for this webinar, but not everybody follows through. And you are someone that does. You are here and followed through. So I promise to make these 75 minutes well worth your time and well worth your precious energy. And I have a special surprise download when you stay until the end, which is my Productivity Mountain Blueprint, so that you'll have a methodology for focusing on what's high value for your business and put procrastination behind you for good. So let's get right into things. I believe there's a reason that you're actually right where you are with me today. So during this session, you're going to have a chance to hear many things that took me many, many years to figure out and a whole world of searching to discover. I strongly suggest that you get your pen and paper ready to take notes, because I'm about to give you the best productivity practices in the world for your highest and best success. No matter which way you look at it, if you're running a business, you must be super productive, right? It's not enough to set goals once a year or once a week and fill your days with to-do lists and work longer hours trying to get things done. To build a business that allows you to make a big impact, feel inspired, and earn the kind of income that allows you to have a lifestyle that you desire, you've got to have systems and practices set up. You've got to have an automated success practice in place. And that's just a fancy way for saying that you need some kind of daily practices to consistently and effortlessly succeed at your business, ongoing in a mostly passive way. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And really, it's the only way to make more free time, make way more impact in the world, and of course, to make a way bigger income. And here's the caveat: without working more. So again, that's why we're here today. And as the title of today's presentation suggests, there are ways to avoid feeling burnt out and create what I just suggested: big income, big impact, and of course, a lot more free time in your business, provided you actually know how to do it. So a lot of people are out there trying to be productive without no real success. So on this webinar today, we're going to reveal why that's happening. And I'm going to show you how to optimize your productivity so that you're successful without burning out. All right, so specifically, here's what you're going to learn by the end of our time together. You're going to feel way less confused whether multitasking and hopping around like a grasshopper putting out fires is good or bad for your productivity. And, I know for me, I had this thing that I had to get everything done immediately when I saw it, emails coming in and so on. And it really seems so hard when you're switching from one thing to another. It's really exhausting, isn't it? By the end of this, if you're like I used to be at all, you're going to feel way less confused. You're going to know exactly what's important to focus on for your productivity and what is not, and why mastering your daily productivity rituals and practices is the best place to start. And you're also going to learn why most time management practices just don't work. And more importantly, learn how to create a productivity plan that not only wows you, but has you super excited about feeling in control of your life and your time. In fact, I'm going to publicly share the number one practice, the number one daily practice for success that has helped build 7, 8, and 9-figure businesses with relative ease. The people that have learned about this practice have left everyone behind and gone on to succeed beyond their dreams. So stick with us and stay to the end, where I'll share the exact formula for this practice. In fact, you'll be getting my Productivity Mountain Blueprint when you stay on to the end. Finally, I'm going to have a live Q&A at the end of this webinar where you can ask me any questions live. You're going to get to ask me specific questions about your productivity and practices, etc. Whatever is related to productivity, I will answer for you. Okay, so at the end of today's presentation, I intend on having you prepared to deal with low resistance against multitasking, low willpower against procrastination, low resilience against energy robbers, those old thoughts that pop up and distract you, draining you of your energy when there's really more important things to be doing and more important things going on. So if it's okay with you, I want to start by sharing a tiny little bit about myself. So again, my name is Dan Lefave, and I help seasoned entrepreneurs cultivate accurate thought so that their success and free time is inevitable. I'm married and a father of 3 young boys, and I work on my own online business from home or wherever I choose, as long as I have internet access. I'm in business. And for several years, I've been helping clients all over the world to cultivate accurate thought so that their success and free time is inevitable. However, things weren't always like this. When I started on my own, I was trying to make a living by building a business in network marketing. I was living on the phone and email, trying to get people to look at what I was promoting, and the only problem was that I was only being paid a few $100s a month. And I had 2 children with another one coming soon. And it's not likely hard to believe, but I was going broke. My big idea was that I would continue to operate my network marketing business as long as it took to be successful and generate enough cash flow to survive. Then I was introduced to someone named Bob Proctor that you may know. He's been in the movie The Secret, and you may have seen him on TV shows like Oprah or Ellen or Larry King Live. And I was on the phone with one of his staff talking about their programs and coaching. And this guy said to me, "Let's get Bob on the phone." And I began to wonder, why would they want me to get on the phone with this guy, Bob? Why was I important enough to get on the phone with Bob, a celebrity in his field, in a field of expertise? So they get him on the phone a couple hours, and I'm speaking with Bob, and he says a few words to me that really resonated about coaching and training people all over the world and transforming them, So, I was considering it, but I hadn't considered what he was saying to me, but Bob saw something in me that I didn't see myself. So I started building my own coaching business with Bob as my mentor. And, I didn't really think at that time that I was going to really make this happen. But also at that time, I didn't have the income. I didn't have any income coming in to invest $20,000 to learn how to coach. And it really didn't make any sense. It was illogical. But as you can guess, I went against my critical, counterintuitive mind and invested in my education growth because you know what? I felt something in my heart that I needed to learn from this guy. I felt it in my bones. But I didn't know the keys to productivity that I'm going to share with you now. The information that I'm going to be sharing with you today literally saved me. It is the number one reason why I'm even able to step away from my business and take time to be with my family whenever I choose for as long as I want. And actually, I just came back from Mauritius recently. I was gone down there for about a month and a half. Now, when I first started growing my business, I was just getting up every day and doing what seemed important or urgent. Can you relate to this? I was just focusing all of my time on trying to get more exposure and attract more clients, but my productivity, or should I say lack thereof, didn't line up with my goals. I was failing miserably and feeling burnt out at the end of each day. I was totally consumed by my business and going nowhere fast because I was jumping from one hot thing to another like a grasshopper, trying to drum up business and simultaneously trying to keep my existing clients going and marketing and selling and all that stuff to support my growing family. I was burning out and I was frustrated on a consistent basis. One day I was speaking with my coach and I said to her, I don't have a good relationship with my wife and my kids anymore. I'm getting mad and frustrated all the time. I don't have a life. All I have is my business and a dream of it getting better. It wasn't enough though. I wanted more in my life and I was really ready to give up and get a job. But because I'm the type of person that likes challenges, and this was a challenge to me, I wanted to figure out how I can continue to grow my business and serve the kinds of people that want to become more aware and grow, but to do it faster and more productively. I saw a video about great leaders in the world having a morning success ritual, and it mentioned being part of a 5 a.m. club. Yeah, a virtual 5 a.m. club. And when I saw it, I knew right away that I wanted to be successful. I wanted to do the practices that the leaders were doing, so I proceeded to start the very next morning at 5 a.m. getting up. And I wasn't getting up at 5 a.m., by the way, more like 7 o'clock or later. So I started this practice and I continued getting up early every morning to do this success ritual. And one day I was doing more research about being productive, without having to work harder like a dog, because I was still working like a dog. And I figured, that there's plenty of people in the world that live an enchanted life and have lots of free time and attention, like my mentor, Bob Proctor. Well, I found what I was looking for. The research revealed how I can be more effective and productive by establishing specific rituals, practices, and habits. Now, immediately I had a ton of objections because I believed that I had been already doing practices and certain rituals and developed habits. I was doing this consistently for months. Things I had learned from great leaders like my mentor, Bob Proctor. How could these new rituals, practices, and habits make any difference in my life? I was in denial at first, and I was thinking that I had been doing everything I could do up to this point, but it wasn't working. So I decided to give it a try. And when I give something a try, I really test it. I'm like a scientist. So I've been trying it for a long time now. So I decided to give it a try. And within days, I started being more productive, feeling more in control of my time and energy and my future. The first time I scheduled what I call multitasking time in my day felt so awesome because I was giving myself permission to hop from one thing to another without feeling like it's all I did all day long and then getting to the end of the day and feeling like I accomplished nothing. One of my clients with a significant business and staff, she has a team of people as well, created her schedule according to my productivity mountain, which I'm going to give to you at the end of this presentation. And I just, told her about this and gave her some quick points. And she said this in an email: Dan, this is wonderful. Thank you for the conversation and the reinforcement. Today was a very productive day. I had my top 3 priorities at the peak, and it's 4 p.m., and I'm feeling really positive and productive. I believe I can actually leave and see my kids today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's all because of her using my powerful productivity practices that I'm going to share with you. And I also wanted to say, you will not get this information anywhere else. This is pure original content. It's based on over 20 years of research and years of testing. I remember committing to doing this productivity work and saying to myself in the mirror, this cannot fail. This cannot fail. It's based on research and testing by leaders of yesterday and today. It's the greatest leverage I could find to move my business and life ahead at the speed that I wanted to without burning out. And now you get to leverage my research and my heavy lifting. Anyway, that's enough about me. So let's get started. Let's talk about the 3 mistakes that you as an entrepreneur make that keep you feeling burnt out. Okay, so again, the topic for today's discussion is the 3 biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make that keep them feeling burnt out. And today we're going to be talking about the 3 proven steps to multiply your productivity without costing you more time and energy. Right. So I'm going to highlight each of these, the 3 biggest mistakes in reverse order from the least to the most impactful that keep you feeling burnt out, one at a time, and I'll provide you with some solutions to each one of them. Sound good? So today's presentation is going to teach you all about powerful productivity practices that you can do that will help you feel in control of your life again and reclaim your free time, energy, and have more money with less effort. All right, so the impact of having a lifelong productivity practice or practices is so profound that it's helped build 7, 8, 9, 10-figure businesses. And once you have it in motion, it can keep going on autopilot. So imagine that for you listening. More income added to your business, more energy, and more time to do what you love to do from a few daily practices and rituals that you picked up, you picked at your kitchen table or at your desk. Because that's what I did. And I'm going to show you how. So I hope that you're totally getting excited because you can do this. All right, let's get started. So instead of working harder and struggling, I'm going to suggest that you establish powerful productivity practices in your life on a consistent basis. And here's a definition for you. So powerful productivity practices are a system of physical, mental, emotional, and psychological practices that helps you reclaim your energy and time automatically, consistently, ongoing, and literally passively over time through habit. You know, motivation gets you started, but habit keeps you going. All right, so how do you do it? So the hub of powerful productivity practices is, of course, strategic productivity and specific and proven productivity practices that are going to convert into more energy, more free time, and more money. Okay, so this is the hub of the powerful productivity practices. It is the hub of the entire powerful productivity practices system. Now, most people who attempt to use a few productivity practices they found, let's say on the internet or on their own in a magazine or something, hope and pray that their practices work with a little effort. This approach would be considered tactile, a tactile error to attempting to become super productive. Like I said earlier, we prefer to take a strategic approach to establishing your productivity practices that are sustainable for the long term. We approach productivity practices in a more strategic way. So that's why we're calling this whole thing a powerful productivity practices. Or okay, so on stress on powerful and stress on practices. All right, so one approach is to assess behaviors prior to doing productivity practice and then aim to change behaviors on the surface instead of going deep into the core of your issues and your productivity issues and solving them. So those boxes before the person that you see there represent the stages leading up to implementing powerful productivity practices. They reveal the thoughts, behaviors, and habits that are being exhibited before you absorb my productivity system. So these pre-productivity steps are essential for ensuring that the real issues are brought to the surface so that they can be dealt with strategically once and for all. This will make it more likely that the productivity practices will be successful and lead to positive and permanent change. Got it? It's going to help you ensure your success rate, and it's going to get you thinking on the right path to doing practices that support your desires for more money, more energy, and free time. Yes. Now, when you go through the pre-productivity steps, and if you don't bring them all bring all your behaviors and bad practices to the surface, you certainly don't give up. Most people who realize some of their behaviors, bad behaviors and practices, think they have it figured out, and then they give up on going deeper and further and doing strategic productivity practices. So there's a system of practices that you'll want to do after you determine the thoughts, actions, and habits that are holding you back. So the beauty of this entire process, plus what I think from creating these powerful productivity practices, is that the entire process from pre-productivity to post-productivity is based on the foundation of recognizing your bad habits so that they can be categorized and dealt with strategically and fast. And then build a new foundation of habits by establishing new rituals and practices. I want to say that again. The beauty of this entire process from pre-productivity to post-productivity is based on the foundation of recognizing your bad habits so that you can categorize them, and then they can be dealt with strategically and fast, and then build a new foundation of habits by establishing new rituals and practices. So even if people don't know how they're going to deal with their productivity issues, they're going to work it out and get a ton of value from going through the entire powerful productivity practices system. And when you do this correctly, it's going to be the same thing for you. So all of the pre and post productivity steps are designed to increase your awareness about what's not working and what will work time and time again, while preparing you for an influx of time, energy, and money. And after you've gone through this entire system and have your productivity practices up and running, you can assess your results after behavior change. That's right. Always assess your results only after behavior change. All right. So let's begin by reviewing the mysterious and invisible factors that are stealing away your precious energy. Okay, so let's talk about your energy robbers that are stealing away your most precious commodity, your mental energy. supply, or as I call it, your mental currency. You know, when it comes to paper currency money, you likely hang on to it pretty securely. You probably keep most of it in the bank and carry some around with you in your wallet or your purse, and not have loose bills scattered around the house or in your car. So why do you think we're so careless with our mental currency and just give it away here and there without any consideration as to whether you're investing your thoughts into something beneficial for your success or not? Why do you think we do that? Like, consider how many thoughts you have per day. You know, research has shown that it's in the tens of thousands, maybe as high as 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day, depending on what you're doing or what you're thinking about that day. Just think about how many of those are energy-sucking thoughts, and when you have them on a consistent basis, it can really add up. So why are we consistently feeding energy robbers that don't support what we really want? You know, the motor in your car has a lot of moving parts, and if one of them is not working, like a spark plug malfunctioning, then the whole motor stops working altogether. You probably experienced this at some point in your life. Now, let's say you have this high-powered BMW, this luxury BMW. It's high-powered, it's a precision machine that's built for rapid response and high speed, but you haven't maintained it well in a little while, and so it's sputtering and chugging along the road. So maybe you haven't changed the oil or had it tuned up, and a couple of the spark plugs are loose and becoming disconnected. Right. Well, instead of that vehicle having 350 horsepower, you know, maximum capacity, it might only have 100 or 200. Well, like your malfunctioning BMW, most of us have things that are robbing us of our energy, and we just don't know it. You have all sorts of energy robbers that are parasitic and suck the energy out of you without you even recognizing it. It's like paying $150 in late fees and interest fees to the government for not filing your taxes on time. That's just money being wasted that you never get back. It's a poor investment. Okay, so the situation is upside down from what it should be because of ignorance. You see, we have a lot of these kinds of things in our lives. Well, it doesn't have to be this way. We don't need to let the energy robbers suck the energy and money out of our lives. And with understanding, you overcome these energy robbers and then feel in control of your life. Now, if you take a good look at yourself in the mirror and recognize your consistent practices that rob you of your energy, then you have a better chance of overcoming them and taking control of your thoughts, right? Now, I'm going to help you turn the mirror on yourself and reflect on the areas where you're pouring out energy around your struggles that are blocking your potential and causing you to feel burnt out. You know, most of us have the ability to look at ourselves and diagnose ourselves as a way of moving into our more productive state than we give ourselves credit for. And the exercises that we're going to be doing in my Waking Up Productive program, which I'll talk to you about later, are going to focus on identifying things that rob us of our energy. Now, besides energy robbers, we have loose ends that are running around in our minds all the time, taking up our valuable mental currency. These loose ends could be deep-seated emotional ones from relationships gone by, like people, you know, our parents and siblings or business partners. They could be circumstances like racking up lots of credit card debt and then having to learn the hard way to pay it back with interest. You know, or perhaps you took a stab at starting a business and failed miserably a few times and went into debt. You know, all of these experiences carry with them a high level of emotional energy because you were likely very stressed and stressed out at that time because you felt the pressures of having debt and needing to control yourself in order to pay it back. Do you know someone like this? Or maybe this is something you've experienced? These thoughts are mental loose ends that are running around in your mind every chance they get, especially when you run into a similar situation that involves similar circumstances, like taking on more debt or having to control yourself in order to manage debt. Now, these are open loops. They are incomplete thoughts or unfinished business that eat away at your mental currency. Does this make sense? I hope so. If it is, just write a yes or a Y in the chat box and let me know that it does. And then I can, I know you're getting benefit from this. Well, we need to get some closure on these open loops. And in Waking Up Productive, which is my new program, we're going to absolutely close these loops so that you're not wasting any more energy on them. Think about these open loops like being, you know, an open wound. They never really heal, and once in a while they reopen and cause havoc in our minds and our lives. It's like a disease recurring. You know, they bother you at an emotional level. They are felt on your physical body like weights on your shoulders, a sort of emotional and physical burden that can carry you around with you, ready to unleash as soon as you run into a similar situation or circumstance that first caused that problem or that wound to open. And the only way to close these open loops is to do some work, do an exercise of becoming aware of what they are and why you're hanging on to them. But not so much why, but determining how to solve them and a way to close them off for good and let them go. Do you think you can do this? I certainly do. You know, I'm reminded of a friend of mine who ran into some financial difficulties with his business. And instead of facing the situation head on, he decided to sidestep his responsibilities with the landlord he was renting from. And he did what's called a midnight move. That's where you move out overnight and you don't come back. You know, he left his landlord with an empty space and a problem of cleaning it out and re-renting it. And I know what that's like because I've been in that business before. And without knowing it, he created an open loop, an open wound that has probably continued to fester and limit his potential for success and maybe even cause him to stay awake at night and affect his happiness. Little did he realize that his actions only relieved a temporary financial burden and placed a larger long-term burden on his shoulders that acts like a dead weight, pulling him down and keeping him from moving forward. At the core of his decision were his intentions. And something to recognize here is that when our intentions are not for the good of ourselves and everyone else involved, we leave behind a sort of resonance that lives on as an open loop. Now, by the way, I'll give you a hint how you can recognize these open loops. An easy way to bring these loose ends to the surface is to notice what you're avoiding, because avoidance is the easiest way to handle it. It's when we say, I'll get to this later, or I'll think about this later. And then what do? We never do it. And we're going to have to be really honest here and confront ourselves and face the things in our lives where we're burdening ourselves and have things that are incomplete around our success, our income, and our freedom of choice. Now, every one of our decisions and actions around money, for example, that have caused a deep level of emotional stress have the potential of being a loose end and a significant energy robber. And as long as we can get away with repeating old ways of thinking and solving problems, we keep reinforcing these open loops. Is this starting to sound real for you? I certainly hope so. Again, type a yes or a Y in the chat and let me know. Give me any feedback that you have. I'd love to hear from you and know that this is making sense for you and supporting you. Now, the new way is to bring your open loops to the surface and deal with them so that they don't resurface by themselves in the future. So that the problem here isn't necessarily going to be solved by going back in time and making amends for the financial decisions we made. It's a matter of coming to terms with how we think and rationalize over new circumstances that involve, let's say, money that appear to be stressful. Now, the solution will be evident by having an awareness of the origins of the circumstance that led to the open loop, and then by addressing it with specific rituals and practices that I go through in detail in my Waking Up Productive program. Now, as a child, you were taught certain ways about how you should think about things, how you should handle certain things in life. You know, and I'm going to talk about money here. And our parents, without knowing it, use words and ways of handling money that they learned from their parents. And then, due to lack of awareness, they just pass them on to us. These are open loops that we're talking about around money. Through awareness, eliminating energy robbers, and closing open loops, you can free yourself from these chains of limitation that are blocking you and keeping you on the path of feeling burnt out or burning out for real, if that's where you are right now. Now, let's talk about the number one problem in your minds based on your feedback to my questionnaire when you registered. That is procrastination paralysis. We tell ourselves, I don't need to do this high-value activity now. I'll get to it later. And as you know, later turns into after everyone else has gone home, or it just never gets done and eats away at your mental currency. So let's talk about the cure to your procrastination paralysis. I will answer the question of whether it's better to use your willpower or to fight and win over procrastination, to fight and win over procrastination, or invest in creating new long-term habits that are sustainable. Let's talk about the procrastination and paralysis and how you can reclaim and control and reclaim your control and willpower to avoid it forever. Here's what we know. We know that we are creatures of habit. Yes, that's right. Most of the things that we think and feel are patterns of habit we repeat every day. And as much as we like to think that life and the world is just happening all around us, we must realize how much we're involved in the whole process. I suggest that you live from a perspective that life isn't happening to you, but instead life is responding to you. And I'll talk about that in a moment. And when you understand this, you can take control over most of the circumstances in your life that you don't just want to happen when you least expect it or want it. The idea behind creating rituals and habits and practices is to take control over your life and circumstances while giving value to yourself first so that you can get what you want in life. Is this making sense? Again, just put a yes in the chat box or no or some sort of comment. Let me know how this is resonating with you. In life, there's great value in giving before trying to get. So the greatest giving that you can do is to give to yourself the greatest assets available to all human beings, which are rituals, practices, and habits that keep you balanced, flowing, and growing. Yes, rituals, practices, and habits that keep you balanced, flowing, and growing. It's the reason why when you're about to take off in a plane, they tell you that in case of emergency and the plane loses compression, put your oxygen mask on first. Take care of yourself first, because you're no good to anyone else unless you are stable and in control of yourself. Correct? The same thing goes for your business and success in life. When you give yourself the best tools and resources, which are the smoothest and the most optimized rituals, practices, and habits, they pave the way for your success, unlike the pain and struggles of hard work. I hope this is making sense. Again, give me some feedback, please. Your personality is a tapestry of behaviors you've experienced from the people that surround you from a very early age. In fact, you are a combination of the most influential people from the first 7 years of your life, but mostly your parents and siblings. And now that you're all grown up, you can consciously choose to organize yourself with practices, rituals, and habits that only contribute to your tapestry in a positive way. That's an option. And these will help you to evolve and become a better and more successful person. When you realize how much you're influenced by the people around you and how your environment impacts you, you can wake up and exercise more of your free will. You have the privilege of establishing your own mental, spiritual, and physical environment. But once you establish it, you must become a part of it through your daily practices, rituals, and habits. It's been said that the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. And if you don't have it, if you don't have what you want through habit, you do not have it. I'll say that again. If you don't have what you want through habit, you do not have it. You must create habits. There are so many things competing for our attention, and trying to remember to do something is a recipe for failure. You need to make what's important to you a habit, a regular practice that comes naturally. Make sense? I think so. Now, to create a habit that lasts, you have to consciously design and imagine it and repeat it over and over and over again until it becomes a normal and natural path, the path of least resistance. Then you can crystallize it and make it a normal process in your mind. That is the only way to take conscious control over our lives. You don't let old habits hold you back. Don't let them hold you back. Stand in your way or stop you. You have the power and now the way to understanding what it takes to create new pathways to your success. And in Waking Up Productive, I go deeper into how you too can have rituals and practices and habits that make your life smooth and rhythmic. Now, Lao Tzu, you might have heard this guy, but he's a sage. He said it best. He said, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Wow, isn't that the truth? And when you connect the dots, you quickly realize that your thoughts become your destiny. Now that's really profound and well worth noting. Know that once you create a new habit, you free up more willpower. You have more free attention to devote to creating other habits of your choice. Just imagine if you created a new habit every month, every month for 3, 5, or even 10 years. Consider what it would be like to be doing your significant and highly productive activities to the extent that they were pulling you forward habitually and not a constant struggle. I thoroughly go through this habit-making process in my Waking Up Productive program, which I'll give you a little more info later. And remember, what you resist persists. So if you find yourself resisting change because it feels uncomfortable and uncertain, you will only cause more of the same challenges to occur in your life by resisting allowing the gravitational pull of old habits to pull you back down and keep you from changing. Also, you might receive resistance from the people closest to you because when they learn that you're doing something different and trying to make a change that could affect them, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go against it. They're going to go against your new practice in order to keep you the same and more or less under their control. That's why it's important to have a support system to help you create the new habits that will give you the lifestyle you dream of. And in my Waking Up Productive program, should you decide to take the leap, you will be invited to join a private Facebook group and be a part of a community of like-minded people that will serve as accountability and commitment partners for you and for sharing great ideas and their successes. So, in order to change something, you must first accept it. By accepting it, you open your mind to the new thought patterns and make way for more efficient processing of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. It's like if you want new clothes, get rid of some old stuff in your closet, make space for new. Now, what we're building is a high-speed pathway, new neural pathways in your mind so that you're always open, so that your thoughts can flow smoothly because it's within your control and managed the way you want to be through practice and habit. Make sense? Now, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to think about your high-value actions and results-focused activities every day, and they were just happening as a result of regular rituals and practices and habits that you establish? Then they would be pulling you forward naturally without effort. It's effortless. If you're going to set your sights on having a full and happy life that's full of successes, abundance, free time, and free will, then creating lifelong rituals, practices, and habits is absolutely imperative. The very first step that you need to take is planning your actions in detail, and I provide you with this exact blueprint for putting it all together fast so that you can get started right away. And I do this in my Waking Up Productive program. This is the blueprint that you'll go through so that you can establish your own practices. It's important to plan out the steps that you're going to take in detail so that you remove all potential pitfalls and don't leave any room for error. When you plan it out in detail, you're more likely to do it. And this blueprint is the easiest way to plan and establish rituals, practices, and habits that support your intentions. Can you see how this technique and blueprint will work for you? Again, give me some feedback. I'd love to hear if this is resonating, yes or no, or some comments. Thank you. Now, most people plant seeds of future friction throughout their lives without even knowing it, and then crystallize them in their neural pathways in their minds through habits. Then, when these seeds sprout and cause friction, they complain and blame others, maybe realizing that they were the ones themselves who planted the seeds in the first place. The idea is to remove the friction in your mind that's blocking you and then putting habits in place that will create the best mindsets, rituals, and successes automatically. Now, wouldn't it be great to have certain aspects of your life and business on autopilot so that you don't have to think about them? It's like driving a car. Most of us can drive a car from one destination to another without burning up too much thought processes or mental energy, because driving has been made normal, natural through our lives. We've made it a habit. And the very first step of this process is to remove friction on the most significant high-value actions that produce the greatest results for you by designing new rituals and practices that will make space for your success. Make sense? Again, please give me some feedback. Now, we don't want to make space in our mind, or we want to make space in our minds first so that we can fill it with high-value practices that give us the greatest satisfaction, right? What we're going to focus on is creating habits and rituals so that the part of our mind that stores this information, which is all called our subconscious mind, takes over and makes it normal and automatic, where we no longer have to concentrate on doing our high-value actions. It becomes second nature, and all friction will be simultaneously removed. Sounds amazingly easy, doesn't it? Well, it is, and let me show you. Your subconscious mind keeps your heart beating. your blood flowing and your lungs expanding and contracting. It does it all day and all night. And when you teach it to be efficient and focused through practices, rituals, and habits, it will take over and make being productive and successful a natural habit. In most cases, it takes weeks of design time and practice to create new habits and only minutes to deliver them. As an example, a 100-meter sprinter will train for about 10,000 hours and then run the race in 10 seconds. They practice exactly how to move their arms and legs through the air for maximum efficiency and precisely how to kick off the blocks for maximum propulsion with the least amount of energy output and friction against the air. We should take a page out of their practices and create our own rituals, practices, and habits, but most of us have not done this because we don't know how, and likely because we don't have a coach like they do. And if we're going to do something every day that's significant, we should plan out the steps and keep optimizing them. This is the primary problem in the world and the reason why I created Waking Up Productive. It's the solution to all of your problems. So we need to think through each of the significant areas of our lives and create rituals and practices that are planned and structured, because if we plan them out in detail, we're more likely to do them and make them easy and automatic. The less mental energy you require to do the high-value tasks in your life will give you the greatest payoff in terms of more free time, more free energy, and more income. Now that we've given you the way to streamline your life through rituals, practices, and habits, I'm going to talk about the things that are blocking you from moving ahead with your plans of having a thriving and flowing lifestyle. I call it multitasking madness because it does exactly just that. It drives you mad by pulling you in multiple directions. But the surprising thing is, it's all self-imposed and absolutely manageable. So the biggest mistake is multitasking madness and believing that the only way for me to get everything done is to multitask. That's a big myth and often leads to burnout. Well, there are several studies that reveal that switching tasks causes you mental wear and tear and depletes your intelligence. You know, what I'm calling your mental currency. It's like leaving a light on versus switching it off and on. You know, I had a friend who's an engineer, and he told me once that we consume more energy by switching lights off and on over short periods of time instead of leaving them on over the same period. And we work much the same way as the light switch. We're switching off and on. It feels good while we're switching back and forth between tasks because we're busy and constantly stimulated and feel like we're doing something. But ultimately, we're just avoiding being bored. But it's very, very, very deceiving. You know, I remember years ago when I was working as a senior manager overseeing about $25 million in commercial revenue for a huge landlord, I would jump from one hot item to another, putting out fires and never really accomplish anything. In fact, I recall having multitasking as one of my core competencies on my resume and capabilities. Can you believe it? You know, that's really not a good thing based on what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I would check emails often when I got bored, and I would look for something else on my desk to do, and even call someone or stop by their office just to stimulate my mind. At the end of the day, I'd commute home on a train for an hour and a half, and my mind would be bouncing all around on the things that I didn't do or did do during the day and deplete more of my mental currency. Then I would get home and not even want to speak with anyone or hear anything because I was feeling mentally stuffed. Have you ever felt this way? You just feel mentally stuffed and you don't want any more info coming in or any problems or challenges. You know, every day you start off with a lot of potential energy because you've been resting all night and have renewed your energy stores so that you can go out and live another day productively. Well, and every day you also invest your valuable mental currency into endeavors that hopefully will multiply and give you the great return on your investment, your mental investment. Just know that, like electricity, on a daily basis, we go from high potential from the time that we wake up in the morning to low potential when we go to sleep for the night. Well, we also go from high potential to low potential rhythmically throughout the day. And I take a deep dive into this energetic flow and how it dramatically affects your productivity in my Waking Up Productive program, which I'll talk about in a bit. Now, just know that constant switching of focus is inefficient and can lead to big trouble by depleting your energy stores and potential burnout. All right, so multitasking isn't helping you do anything faster, and constant exposure to multiple electronic devices, from smartphones to computers to tablets to Kindles, and whatever else makes us really bad at multitasking. And research shows that when you're pushing yourself to perform 2 or more tasks, especially complicated ones, it's not beneficial. It's extremely inefficient. That's because no matter how small the task, the brain must reorient its focus each time. Think of it this way. If you can't do something unconsciously, in other words, in your sleep, it's taking up mental energy, mental currency, and constant shifting of your attention during a day of texting and talking and writing can add up to real time. Even extensive practice with multimedia streams doesn't make you any better at multitasking. In fact, research shows that multimedia multitaskers are worse at multitasking. And it makes you worse at multitasking. That's what the research shows. It's stated that people who habitually juggle electronic tasks are more distracted than their peers because they couldn't stop thinking about the tasks they weren't doing or left behind. Now, isn't that interesting? And does that sound like you? That's right. The unfinished tasks that they started and left open, like an open loop. And again, I was talking about closing these open loops, and I'll teach you how to do that in my Waking Up Productive program. These open loops are calling their attention and creating a mental tug of war. It's like being pulled in multiple directions all at once. Can you relate to this? All the tasks going on in your physical world are draining your pool of energy from your limited supply of mental currency. You have a certain amount of time and energy with which to use throughout the day before you need to go and rest again or go to sleep. And switching from one task to another is like changing gears in a car, going uphill. It requires more power, more fuel each time you shift your gears, right? So what we want to do is something I call getting out of the static zone. In the static zone, there is no movement, action, or change. It's the point where your mind is on the verge of being bored and leaping on to another task for a jolt of stimulation. Now, what if you could catch yourself just before you go into the static zone and stop yourself from shifting your mind and shifting tasks? What if you could do that? Just imagine that for a moment. Imagine if. Now, when you go into the static zone, you lose control over your ability to focus. You get sidetracked and lose sight of what you were doing and where you were going. Does this happen to you? Maybe time again and now and again, or maybe often? Let me know again. Please type a yes or no in the chat box. Now, switching tasks is a habitual behavior that's learned while we were young and becomes a compulsive behavior because it's what we've come to know as a normal way of doing things. We made it a habit. We just reinforced it. We paved over it in our minds. Now, our mind expects to continuously switch back and forth from one task to another to feed the insatiable desire to be stimulated and not letting ourselves get bored doing just one thing. Can you relate? Now, my habit was checking emails before going to bed and then rolling out of bed and then checking them again. I was on the crackberry and I was putting out fires right away and taking care of urgent matters and doing what others wanted me to do first on their agenda. I had a boss that would send messages late, early morning or something like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd get up and start answering them right away. And I'd been doing this for 15 years and I couldn't imagine doing things any other way. Is this making sense, or does this sound like you? Do you get out of bed and check emails all the time or check messages and then get on somebody else's agenda? Right. So this huge hidden cost, yeah, that's right. This huge hidden cost of switching from one task to another, from one focus to another, reduces your ability to be productive. It reduces it significantly. It's at the core of most business failures and bankruptcies. And not only that, you are weakening your willpower to stay focused on one task at a time, to the point where you can't do one thing without checking messages, emails, or notifications. You know what I mean? All those sounds and pop-ups and notifications that are on your computer and your phone that keep distracting you and kind of pulling you off on someone else's agenda. However, there are times when we have to, in a way, shift from one task to another because they're significant or urgent. So how do we effectively switch without losing attention, energy, or mental currency? Well, I'll tell you in a minute, but now I want to share with you the real culprit behind multitasking. You're not going to believe this. Surprisingly, multitasking isn't the real problem. It is boredom. I know I've been mentioning it throughout the presentation, but yes, it's boredom. That's right, boredom. We are we're so highly stimulated. We are a highly stimulated society that gets bored really quickly if our mind isn't challenged to a level that matches our skill set. Doesn't that sound counterintuitive? Well, it is. For example, A rocket scientist would be bored out of his mind working on in a factory on a line. And by the same token, a factory worker would be completely lost in a rocket scientist's lab. So we allow ourselves to get distracted and go off on a tangent because we want to satisfy our desire for something new and stimulating. And this is exactly why young children resort to aggressive behavior like hitting their siblings or friends and then being loud and obnoxious. It's because they hit a point where what's going on isn't exciting enough for them. So they create some drama by stimulating someone else around them. It usually ends up with someone getting angry or crying, which fulfills the compulsive need to be stimulated and entertained, even if it's a negative response like being punished or reprimanded for their so-called bad behavior. They still want it. Think of how many people you have in your life that are like this. And maybe if you're reflecting on yourself, if you're like this. Like I said earlier, this multitasking habit starts at a very young age and doesn't change much as we grow older, unless we learn to recognize it and practice doing things differently than we are now. So what's at the center of this multitasking issue is a compulsive behavior to keep the mind switching from one task to another, feeling busy, right? When we get sidetracked and switch to another task, it can take us maybe 15, 20, even 30 minutes to come back to what we were doing. And sometimes we even forget where we left off, and so we have to review everything from the beginning just to catch up. Does this sound like you? I know I've done it before. So consider getting sidetracked for 3, 5, 10 times a day. You could get to the end of your day and have accomplished none of your high-value tasks or intentions because of the amount of time it takes to get back on track. Think of how draining that can be on a consistent basis. I have a great tool called Productivity Mountain that I'm going to give to you that will help you solve this problem. And I'll give it to you right at the end of the presentation. So hang tight. All right. So how do we stay productive while multitasking and not losing focus and becoming an addict to switching tasks? Good question, right? So the way to take control of this problem is to practice doing a couple of things. The first thing you want to do is strategically plan your interruptions. And the second thing is to schedule multitasking blocks of time so that you can feed this internal desire to switch tasks. Are you with me on this? These are the 2 ways that you can take control of your significant tasks, and I suggest organizing your tasks in order of significance. My research showed that it's better to procrastinate on purpose and put the low-value tasks off until later, and then in order to become a multiplier. So you put them off until later to become a multiplier. So what is a multiplier? A multiplier is a highly effective and productive person capable of taking quantum leaps. And if we're going to multiply our productivity, which is the core promise of my Waking Up Productive program, we need to be measuring our tasks in terms of income, impact, and influence so that we're putting the greatest amount of mental currency into what gives us the greatest satisfaction and results. Make sense? Okay, so how do we plan our interruptions? Well, first of all, 80% of our interruptions are self-imposed. They're created inside of our own minds, and the rest come from outside influences. The interruptions from others are because something or someone stimulated them, and they want our attention in order to solve it. And from what I've experienced working with teams of people, if you leave enough of a gap before responding, most interruptions are solved without your involvement before you even hear about them. Most times, others will come to you because they are hoping you will solve their problem fast for them so that they can hold on to their precious time, energy, and attention and mental currency. Make sense? So what they're doing is taking the path of least resistance by having you do their thinking for them. Do you know people like this? Or maybe sometimes you find that you're like this too? All right. However, if you develop the practice of responding immediately to their interruptions, they will become accustomed to the way you operate and will begin to solve most of their problems and leave you alone. So in order for you to take control of your interruptions and plan them into your day so that you're focused and have uninterrupted blocks of time where you can be super effective, you need to select 1 or 2 periods of time in the day where you can be reached. For example, you may want to select 30 to 60 minutes in both the morning and afternoon where you'll be available to speak over the phone or respond to messages. The idea is that you get to choose when you want to allow, or when you will allow others to contact and interrupt you on your schedule. Does that make sense? Sound like a good plan? Now, I know that some of you are sitting there thinking, there's no way I can schedule my day like this, but I'm here to tell you that you can with a little bit of work. Some of my busiest clients have managed to schedule their communication times like I'm suggesting, and as a result, their days are a lot smoother and more efficient, and they can get to do what's most important to them at the end of the day, like being with their family or hanging out with their friends instead of playing catch up on the things they didn't do throughout the day because they answered every call, email, and text message that they received right away. Make sense? So over time, the people that interact with you the most will understand how you operate and respect your method of communicating and dealing with interruptions. And if you already have a habit of responding immediately to emails, calls, and text messages and notifications, you will need to educate and retrain and recondition people that deal with you to your new practices so that you have control over your time and actions. Make sense? So the second thing we talked about earlier was scheduling your multitasking so that you can fulfill your desire to jump from one thing to another, like responding to messages, emails, and notifications. I know this sounds totally counterintuitive thing to do, but you'll be surprised as to how good it is if you schedule time for yourself to multitask. This is so you don't have to give up on doing rapid fire task management on occasions so that the small tasks don't pile up. You see, what happens when you receive an email, oftentimes after reading the message, you think, oh, this is easy. And, then you're going to jump on it right away. But then you may need to look into something or involve someone else. And then it starts going back and forth. And this all takes time and energy. And you have a limited supply every day. So you need to put your highest productivity actions at the top. And I'm going to show you all how to do that on your productivity mountain in a moment. So I suggest you set aside 30 to 60 minutes in the morning and the afternoon to review your messages and respond to them, or forward them to someone else if you have people on your team for their resolution. All right, so what's happening here is that you're learning the skill of saying no to unsolicited interruptions and taking charge and being proactive throughout your day and not going into reaction mode all the time and feeling tired and drained at the end of your day because you jumped around like a grasshopper on someone else's agenda. Make sense? It's very easy to get inundated with all sorts of communications coming our way and let them wash over us so that we become overwhelmed. So the old way is to multitask most of your day away. And the new way is to choose your multitasking times that make the most sense for you. Make sense? Again, if you like this, let me know. Just give me some feedback. Type in the chat box and let me know. All right. Now, I'd like to share with you the 3 practices that I've learned that will allow you to have better focus, transition smoothly from one task to another, and then switch from distinctly different types of tasks without any residue being left over. I call these 3 processes clear focus, shifting tasks, and switching perspectives. And unfortunately, there's not enough time for me to teach you them today, but I teach them. I teach exactly how to use them, and so that your day flows smoothly in my Waking Up Productive program. And I'll talk to you more about that in a moment. So if you correct your mind, everything else will fall into place. Yeah, if you correct your mind, that's right. Everything starts in your mind. Now let's talk about the steps that you need to take to be super productive. So let's talk about some of the problems that people experience when they try to get their powerful productivity practices up and running. These are the roadblocks. Well, firstly, most people don't know the structure because we haven't taught it to anybody. You're literally the first people in the world that are getting a full walkthrough of this structure. We've given bits and pieces of the structure out, but not the whole thing. So good for you for getting on the webinar today. Now, that's the first thing. They continue trying to make behavior changes and working harder, but they don't know that behavior changes don't work, and so on and so forth. And it's tragic that they don't reclaim their free time and their free attention that they wanted. So here's what could happen. They don't take the time to assess what roadblocks are in the way and begin doing some sort of proven system. They just go on doing some sort of proven system they found before knowing that it's going to work. Don't do this. You must make sure that the practices you're doing will solve your specific problems and generate more productivity, reclaim your time, and bring you more income prior to committing to a long-term goal and a long-term practice. It's just like you see all those people that you see flocking out to buy the latest piece of fitness equipment in December and January before they even know what they want or need. They're just buying the latest piece. So there are 4 specific phases for getting your productivity practices working for you. So if you're looking at that diagram and thinking, oh my God, this is too much, I'm going to break it down for you right now. Super, super simple. Okay. So the first phase is to organize your thoughts and remove all the barriers that keep holding you back and eating away at your precious mental currency. So this means making sure that you've taken account of all the loose ends running around in your head, around in your mind, making sure that you've taken care of all the energy robbers that are milking your mental currency, and making sure that you've cleared as much mental clutter as possible before moving ahead. It's like rearranging mental furniture. You'll quickly move ahead to creating new practices and optimizing them, but you've got to organize yourself first. So the second thing is to create practices that will solve your problems and work the best for you. There's no sense in just jumping into something without first knowing that it's going to work for you, that it meets your type of learning. So you've got to create it first and then move on to the third phase, which is to test it. So the third phase is to test the practices you've created to ensure that they feel right for you and work for you. So this phase is all about testing the practices you've decided to do, and keep doing them until you confirm that either they're not or they are working for you. So you got to test it. You got to do this test. You create it first and then you test it. See if it works for you and that you're getting results. Now, the fourth phase is to optimize your practices by automating them and through habit. You want to take the practices that are producing the greatest results for you and continue practicing them until they become normal, a new normal. You want to create a habit out of them and then having these practices happening in your life without having to remember them, without having to consciously think about them. Now, it isn't until the fourth phase that you optimize, right? So you organize, create, test, and then optimize. This is the blueprint you're going to need for the system, okay? Now, you can try to implement your own powerful productivity practices, but here's what I'm going to suggest. A lot of people who try to do this on their own end up spending weeks struggling through the process, not knowing the simple yet subtle strategies behind each piece of the process. And because people have asked me to create a comprehensive personal and business productivity program, I invested countless hours researching and studying and putting together the perfect program. And as I've been telling you, it is called Waking Up Productive. However, before I tell you about the program, let me ask you a few questions. What would it be worth to you to multiply your productivity and reclaim, let's say, 5 to 10 hours per week of personal time? What would that be worth to you? And how much time, energy, and money would it save you if you could be twice as productive within just 90 days? And what if I could give you a simple system to multiply your productivity without costing you more time and energy? What would that be worth? Well, because the good news is that my system does this. So how do we get there? So I've taken all of my 20 years of research and experience and created this course for you called Waking Up Productive. So let me share with you what you'll be receiving in this course. It's all about the tools, strategies, and habits that you can implement right now to make significant changes in your life. And we're going to take on the big stuff. First, where should you be focusing your time, energy right now? You know, there's so much going on today, but where should you be really focused? Which area of your business could you get the most dramatic improvement on? What rituals and practices could you set up to actually move your business forward and your life? And what happens if you set this vision? You set your goals for yourself and you find yourself afraid or disappointed or not motivated or not knowing what to do to take the next step. Well, I'm going to help you master your mind and teach you how your thoughts work so that you can create more positive beliefs about yourself and help you get more momentum in your change. And what about the decisions you have to make? You know, have you ever been faced with so many decisions? You don't know which one is the right one for you or right for your family or right for your next move. I'm going to teach you the practices that will help you know exactly which decision to make. I'll even teach you to do what to do when you have like one option here, one option there, you have multiple options. I'll help you figure that out as well. And then I'll help you to do something that's really important. This is change the way you approach your days and your mental thinking so that you can get more positive impact, more positive thoughts, but more importantly, advancement towards the ideal life you want to live. All this is geared towards helping you get more momentum and more growth in your business. It's a time of transition for you. I get it. It's a time of transition for you right now. You know, it's a time when you're saying, I do want to shift. I do want to change. I do want something more in my life. Maybe there's something missing. You know, there's a higher purpose for you, or maybe you know that there's that next level of joy or love or fulfillment or achievement in your life. And this is a course that's going to help you get it. So here's what you need to know so that you know this is right for you. This is the blueprint that you're going to need for the process. It's designed to have you waking up productive every day of the week with rituals, practices, and habits that suit you best and have you going through your days with ease and flow and positive energy. Now, you can try to implement your powerful productivity practices on your own, but here's what I'm going to suggest. A lot of people who try to do this on their own end up spending weeks struggling through the process, not knowing the simple yet subtle strategies behind each piece of the process. But here's what I'm going to suggest to you. Join me and let me help you get your powerful productivity practices going within a few days. And when people try to do this on their own, it takes them months and months and months. It can take them a whole year to do this. But here's what I'm going to suggest to you. Join me and let me help you get your powerful productivity practices going within a few days. We have got a 12-week training coming up. It's all online, and you can access it from the comfort of your own home, wherever you like, on your smartphone, on your tablet or computer. I'm just going to mention a couple of things about the program. So if you're interested in getting these practices going in your life fast and in your business and making more income, having more impact, and having more free time, then please listen carefully. Also remember that I'm going to be doing a live Q&A here in a minute so that you can ask me questions about your productivity practice and challenges. But anyway, the program that I'm going to walk you through is called Waking Up Productive. It's happening starting next week, Monday. And by the end of the program, you're going to have established practices, rituals, and habits that make your success and free time inevitable. So I want you to imagine this thing you're looking at right here. This entire process and practices from start to finish will be mapped out. I'm going to show you exactly how to do everything. There's my support and support from the other members of the program in a private Facebook group. You can ask me anything. My goal is to make me obsolete. I want to make sure that you have habits in place so that you'll never need me again, and so that you can go on to fine tune and optimize your practices so that you're feeling in control of your life and getting the results that you desire. You deserve it. I want you to be set up for success of any kind at any level that you want. I want you to be set up to be attracting all the income you want, all the satisfaction that you're being productive and impacting your clients the way that you want, and having more and more free time to do what you want the most. So like I said, I'll be going through the subtleties of the practices, and I'll be giving you downloadable files for everything. I don't want you to have to log into your computer if you don't want to do that. I'm going to be giving you the models, tools, and templates for setting up your own practices. I'm going to give you everything I can give you to get you up and productive as fast as you want to be. Now, one of the things we're going to start with is how to set up your daily success ritual, because this is the #1 practice that leaders all over the world have stated is the most important thing that they can do for their long-term success, happiness, and freedom. It's the common thread amongst them all. You're going to create a practice that suits your available time, gets you revved up and super productive every day. I'm going to give you the best practices from the biggest leaders of today, all my research. I'm also going to give you online access to a community of like-minded people, as I mentioned, to serve as accountability partners to ensure that you follow through on your commitments and keep your word to yourself. You know, accountability and commitment are so critical. They are the cornerstones for successful leadership and success overall. One of the side benefits of doing this work, which you might like, is that you'll likely get leaner. Yeah, leaner body, stronger, and improve your self-image, which can make a world of difference in your life and your business, not to mention your energy and longevity. I've gone from 25% body fat to 18% body fat just doing a morning success ritual, and it wasn't even intended for that. Now, one of the most important things about joining this program is the people. I talked about accountability and commitment as being one of the most important ways, the cornerstones of ensuring you establish rituals, practices, and habits that stick. Well, when you register for my program, you'll be in good company because the kinds of people that are interested in being more productive are just like you. Okay, enough said about that. Let's talk about the investment. So the promise is that you'll multiply your productivity by at least 2 times by the end of Waking Up Productive program. Imagine yourself being twice as productive using the same amount of time that you have today. But now you have more free time, free will, and free attention to do the funner things in life. I want you to be up and running with your new rituals, practices, and habits right away so that you'll have reclaimed at least 5 hours of free time per week that you used to have maybe when you were younger. So that's about 20 hours per month and 260 hours per year, just by doing specific practices and rituals. That's my goal for you, just by joining me in this 12-week program. Just think about how that would affect your life, your business, and your family. An extra 5 hours per week that you can do whatever you like with, not to mention all the other benefits you're going to reap from being more productive. Let's say that you reclaim 5 hours per week of free time. So that's 5 hours for you to do whatever you want to do for yourself. That's free from all the busy stuff that you do. Now, let's say that each hour is, on a conservative side, is worth $200. So it's worth a lot more, and I know that, but bear with me. Let's say it's $200. So on a weekly basis, you reclaim 5 hours or $1,000. On a monthly basis, 20 hours or $4,000. And on an annual basis, 260 hours or $104,000. Imagine reclaiming 260 hours of your time as free time that you can enjoy life and do things, take time off or whatever, just rest and relax, rejuvenate. Imagine that. So 260 hours or $104,000. So your free time now is worth, let's say, $104,000. So just think about how that would affect your business and your lifestyle, an extra 260 hours to yourself at a value of $104,000. Not to mention the family and friends that will appreciate seeing you more again. Now, the cost for my coaching is, for 12 weeks of coaching with me, is $19.97. The tuition for my upcoming Waking Up Productive home learning program is $9.95. That's the 12-week online program with all of the templates, tools, and resources and extras. Now, here's my suggestion to you. Absolutely, hands down, bar none. Best to do the home learning program and my coaching together. You don't have to, but I'm suggesting it. You'll get to work with me directly. I'll be there to answer your questions, troubleshoot, and support you throughout the process step by step. You're going to get to meet people like yourself that want to be more productive and have more free time. The pros of the home learning program is that it will be there for you for life. If you slip backwards and need to refresh, it's there to support you and to keep you on track. It's all there. Checklists, videos, templates, everything. You can just consult the online learning program anytime you want to remember how to increase your productivity. It will be there for you. I think you should do both. Join the online learning program, and you want to be able to bounce questions off me and get my support for sure. So to encourage you to do both, when you register for my Waking Up Productive home learning program, and you're going to go to wakingupproductive.com, that's where we go there right now. So when you register for the home learning program, I'm going to gift you with my coaching for free. So right now, go to wakingupproductive.com and you're going to get all of my coaching for free. And I'm going to go a step further. I want to make this absolutely irresistible for you. We only have a few spots left in the group, and I want to get them filled. So here's another thing that I'm going to do for you. When you register for the Waking Up Productive home learning program, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to allow you to get the program for an additional discount. In fact, you're going to get it for $397. So I want to be super, super clear here. Register for Waking Up Productive home learning program, which we're starting next week, as I mentioned. So to be super clear, you get my coaching for free. You get the home learning program where I'm going to walk you through the process of multiplying your productivity with the same amount of time you have available today for $397. I know, this is crazy. I've never offered something this low, and it's going to be an awesome resource for you, for your life, for your business, and for your family. Now, I want to be transparent. I've been talking with my closest friends and my existing clients about this program and the upcoming classes, and I haven't opened it up to the public yet. So I want to give you first access before it gets filled up. We want to get the final few spots filled. So I don't want you to miss out. So you can see it here on your screen. See it there on your screen. You want to go to wakingupproductive.com. Just go there now. Waking Up Productive is not a question for the right people. You showed up today because you want to be more productive. I know that, right? Well, here's your chance. The only question is, are you going to take action and truly get more productive? Fast action takers are well rewarded for being proactive and productive. The only question is, are you a fast action taker? I get that you're very busy, and so am I. And I also get that we're all very time poor today. We're time poor, right? And we don't need any more random information wasting our time and mind space. There's too much information out there. There's too much competing for our time and attention, right? We can only afford to pay attention to things that are relevant to us and that we can get and we can understand. We don't want to invest our precious time and energy in something that's not going to provide immediate results. We get nothing done because of the way we think and do things. And when we think inaccurately, we're likely to keep getting nothing done because we start out focusing on the low value tasks and then get caught up in other non-productive things and other people's agendas and get nothing done. If instead we start out each day with intention, focus, and practice, we get the high value tasks done and feel good about our actions because we immediately start getting better results. And more importantly, we'll have more energy, money, and free time. The net result is that you'll get better results. More clients receive more money and reclaim the free time that you crave. And as an added bonus, you'll never get to the point where you'll feel like procrastinating again and getting nothing done. And you'll have more sustained results in your business. It's empowering. The best way to start is by planning out your high value tasks and focusing on them on a consistent basis with rituals, practices, and habits, and then measuring your results before doing anything else. You need to develop effective rituals, practices, and habits if you want to be productive. And that's what I packed into my Waking Up Productive program. It's an all-inclusive, comprehensive system that moves you from getting nothing done and feeling inadequate to being effective and multiplying your productivity so that you're getting more clients, making more money, and enjoying more free time so that you can do the things that you love to do, like being with your family and friends and maybe playing some sports, and stop working so hard. When we connect the dots, the difference it's going to make in your life is that you'll move toward your goals of having a thriving business that supports you and your family's desires and never look back. All right, a couple more things here, and then we're going to Q&A. Please include your team members or business partners. If you've got anyone who's going to be supporting you with this, especially if there are people you work with on a consistent basis, and being more productive would increase income and overall satisfaction. You don't want to create your productivity plan and then have to explain it to other people that play a role in you being productive. Have them join with you. They can also join for $397. So if you want to bring a business partner or someone who is on your team, you can just change the number of programs on the order page. If you want, 2 people to join in, just change the number to 2. And it'll calculate it. If you want 3 people to come, just change the number to 3. Everybody gets to join for $397 now. That will also give them access to my live Q&A coaching calls. I stand so solidly behind this program. I've seen the proof. It totally works. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it completely risk-free to register. Register for the program, participate fully, establish your powerful productivity practices, and form new habits. If you don't feel that the program was valuable, I'm going to reimburse you for the entire tuition back. So just keep that in mind. It's $397, and we're still going to put our money where our mouth is. Go through the program, and if you don't feel like I've bent over backwards to make it so valuable for you, you come back to us, and we'll give you your tuition back. And just know that you won't have to ask because you're going to get what you came for. I'm really into making sure that you get results from this. Nobody is teaching this information this way out there, and I really want to guide you through the process step by step. Definitely, I want to be the teacher that you follow. All right, so let's switch over here for a second. I am now going to share with you my productivity mountain, and I'll give that to you to download, and then we're going to go into Q&A. So I'll switch screens here for a second, and I'll give you the option to download my productivity mountain, and I also will tell you what that is about. So here it is. Take a look. This is Productivity Mountain. And as you can see, I have at the top high lifetime value. Those are high lifetime value actions. And then we have high value, which are dollar per hour actions. And then we have low value, dollar per hour. And then at the bottom, we have negative or no value. And as you can see on the right side there, the bottom, negative or no value, that's base camp. You know, anyone can hang out there, and that's where most people hang out. You know, zero effort is required there. You know, it's where everybody ends up if they don't climb, if they don't go for the high lifetime value actions, if you don't work on that. And as you can see on the right side there, there is escape velocity. So just take a look. You see escape velocity on the right side there. That is what you require. That's the energy required to do your high lifetime value tasks. That's the energy required to stay on task. That's the energy required to stay out of this negative or no value task area, because this is where you end up most times, because it's too easy to just to sit there and do the simple things. So you need escape velocity. You need some power, some energy to climb up there. You know, and I look at it this way. I mean, if this is a mountain and you're climbing it, you know, it's always nice, especially if you're going to go climb a real mountain like Kilimanjaro or Mount Everest. You know, let's use Everest as an example. You know, if you were going to climb Everest, you know, you wouldn't just pack some food in a backpack and some water and that, and then just head over there in your car and get out and start climbing. You know, you might do that on some smaller ones, but definitely not Everest. You are training for months. I have a friend who climbed Everest, and I think he trained for like 8 months to a year. Training and training and training, getting himself a high capacity, high resilience, you know, high endurance. So, you know, he did all this training, but then also he had a guide. They have guides. They have Sherpas, right? They take you up the mountain. Those guides take you up in the mountain, right? You have somebody to help you, because on the right side there, as you can see, we have resistance. So there's a lot of resistance when you're climbing the mountain, especially Everest. You know, there's a lot of weather factors involved and a lot of precarious things that you have to go through that are pretty dangerous. And you might assess your life and realize this is not worth it, especially when you're climbing on a steel ladder over some ice crevices or something that are really deep. You know, you could die. So, you know, there's a lot of resistance there. And same thing in your business, in your life, there's a lot of resistance. And you know what that resistance is? It's your habits, because your habits are there in your subconscious mind to keep you safe, to keep you the same, but they also resist you climbing to this new height. So the resistance is pulling you down. The habits, that's what I have there, habit gravity. It's pulling you down. It's trying to keep you the same. But if you put your high lifetime value tasks on your, let's say you have an agenda in the day, your intentions, your list of things you're going to do in the day. And I teach you exactly how to do that, because I think there's a way to do it that's effective and productive, instead of having a massive list, which you never get done and then you feel bad. You know, have your high value lifetime tasks at the head of your list, at the head of your day, and, you know, getting those things done right before noon. And having them done and completed and then feeling good. And then the rest of your day, you can work on the lower value things. But the bottom line is to set yourself up for success by working on what is going to produce the greatest results in your life and in your business. And you know what they are, but you're probably just not doing them. Why? Distraction, boredom, your skill set, and, you know, your challenge. It's too much of a challenge to do the high lifetime ones, and your skill set doesn't necessarily match it. So you just resort to doing something a lot easier. You take yourself down a notch and you do something a lot easier. So what I'm teaching you here is put your highest lifetime value tasks at the top, that are at the top of this mountain. Put them at the top of your list of things to do for the day. That's what you focus your attention on. Put all your attention on it and see yourself doing it. And I give you some other exercises in terms of how you can create this this task list, this intention, and do it so that it's effective and productive, so that you're using the side of your mind, the subconscious mind, which is always there supporting you. You can use it to help you. So I teach you how to do that too as well. So this is yours to download. I'll give it to you in a moment. And again, it's it's something that maybe you don't think about. You don't think about categorizing your tasks, your actions that you're doing for the day. And this is just a way of really putting them into clear focus and knowing what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and then getting the results that you want and feeling good about it at the end of your day. Think about it for a moment. Imagine if you had, let's say, 2 or 3 things on your list and they were high value, and by noon you were done them. Check, check, check. Imagine how you would feel just having that kind of activity and that kind of results right away. Can you imagine that? And just knowing that, yeah, you know what, I invested my time and energy into things that are producing the greatest results in my business, in my life. And, now I can go home satisfied and be with my family and give them attention without, having a tether to my business or my life that I didn't accomplish things or do things and, worrying about whether you're going to make it or not, things like that. So, something to really consider. All right, so let me give this to you to download, and then we're going to move into Q&A. So just one second. I'm going to switch over here for a second. I will stop sharing my screen, and I will give you the download. So here it is, coming up. Productivity Mountain. There you go. You can download it right to your computer. You can access it. And then take it and use it and do what you like with it. So there you have it. You have the download ready for you to use at your leisure, and and put it to work. And honestly, this sounds very simple, but as I mentioned earlier, my one client there, Joanna, she just did it the very first time, and she had phenomenal results. And as long as she continues doing it on a consistent basis, she will continue to get better and better and better results. And that's what I'm hoping for you. That's what I see in you. So go ahead and download that and put it into practice. And again, I've given you lots of feedback here today. You can use the practices that I've given you. You can use everything that I've mentioned and put it to work and test it. But if you're really struggling, or if you really want great results, you want to move ahead fast, I'm gonna welcome you to join the group. Join this group. It's $397. It's not $20,000 like I invested in Bob Proctor. It's $397, and you get everything I promised you. 12 weeks of guided coaching, and you get me there alongside you, helping you, answering your questions, giving you more information and resources that I'm studying, because I'm continually studying and researching. I'm a constant student, so I will share with you what I'm learning, and you will get that over the next 12 weeks with me, alongside of you. And I want to see you succeed. I mean, I've got a great vision for the the world, for the evolution of humans, the evolution of people, and the evolution of business leaders. And you're part of it. If you want to be part of this growth, this evolution, this movement, then please join me. I really welcome you, and I think that this is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be the best thing that you've ever done. You're going to look back, 3 months from now, and you're going to look back with it like a telescope and wonder where you were.